welcome back to another episode of Vision Quest. This is a podcast where I, Ashley Apap, writer and comedian from Melbourne, Australia, talk to people that I enjoy about things that they're passionate about. Could be anything. Could be anything, could be anyone. As long as I like the person and want to talk to them and they care about something. That's what this is the place for, okay? If you're coming back, it's so lovely to see you, my friend. How are you? As always, are you pooping regularly? Are you drinking water? Are you doing all the things that are important to keep you healthy and happy and whole? If you're not, go do them right. Pause this, go do a poop, have a drink, and come back. And if you're new, that might be very confronting, but it's okay. This is all about openness. You're going to hear me talk to someone excellent today. I'm going to ask some questions and then we're going to get into their topic of choice. And I am thrilled today to have my friend Charlie Zangel here. Charlie, welcome.
Hi Ash, how you going, my darling?
I'm good. I'm so excited to be talking to you.
I know, it's been a long time coming. We've had many a postponement, but
Yes.
we're here.
Yes, exactly. We made it.
Yeah.
I'm proud of us.
We rain checked to the rainiest possible day in Melbourne in a long time.
Yeah, that's
It's
true.
pissing down rain right now.
Absolutely. And we were like, you know what? We won't let that stop us. It's going to happen. And here we are. So I'm proud of us. It's
going to be good. I can't wait.
Me too. I'm already having fun. Can you please let everyone out there know who you are and what you do?
Sure. Hi, guys. My name is Charlie Zangel. I'm a Melbourne-based writer, actor, and part-time Nicole Kidman body double.
Ooh.
So, yeah, not really. I mostly at the moment I'm doing a lot of stand-up and writing and YouTube and podcasting and a bit of everything, to be honest. I'm just kind of rocking and rolling because the world is changing and we all have to adapt. So,
Absolutely. You're doing a great job.
yeah.
I felt very lucky to see your show, your comedy festival show, Cockatiel. If anyone didn't know, Charlie won Best Newcomer of the 2021, I forgot what year it was, Melbourne Comedy Festival, which is very well deserved, an incredible thing. You should be super proud of it. And the show was so good.
Oh, thank you.
Everyone listen to Drama Queen, Charlie's bop, if you haven't already.
Yeah, check it out on Spotify. Help me get those like 0.08 cents per listen.
Yes.
Got to get myself a new pair of Ugg boots. I don't know. It's fucking
cold.
Yeah.
Exactly. A new raincoat. Anything to stop us freezing over in this cold, cold winter in which we are recording this. I hope no one's listening to this like 6 months from now in summer and being like, wow, this must suck for them, because it fucking does.
Love that journey for them.
Yeah, love that for them, but also fuck them. So we met, which I love. Same thing happened with past guests on the podcast, Maddie Weeks, and some upcoming guests as well. We met doing Zoom trivia.
Yes, that's right.
Lockdown, which I think is very bizarre.
Fitting.
But
It is fitting. And like, I felt like that trivia energy as well, like it brought together a particular type of person, like, you know, that was sort of extroverted enough to want to do something as crazy as trivia, but also like everyone was kind of kooky and like it made sense that we would all become friends.
Yeah, absolutely. And since then, like, I feel like, because I had never met any of the people in person, I feel like most had met each other. And now, since then, we've had comedy festival, we've had just like gigs, and everyone gets to see each other out, and it's so nice. It's such a beautiful group of people. And I feel very grateful to have met you through that. And to get to see you do so many bloody shows, because you're so bloody good.
Oh, thank you. It's been so lovely to meet you and so many other people as well. You're right. Like, everyone's so intermingled. That's the thing. Like, you know, just before lockdown, basically, I had started with Erin, who I know was a guest on this podcast as well.
Was also in the trivia group.
Yeah. Well, we started doing improv at TIC, and through that, as you know, like, everyone just knows everyone, and suddenly, like, you make one friend, you make 10, and then you're off and running, and then, there's a lovely scene in Melbourne, I think, when it comes to not just comedy, but like alternative comedy.
Yes,
you know, different
definitely.
types of performers putting out fun new stuff.
Yeah,
Like a lot of like lo-fi, stupid comedy, which I'm obsessed with. So
me too.
yeah,
It's a
there's good
great
people about.
it's a great time for people. I think, especially with the last year, people have just been like, "Oh, I should just be making whatever I want because we could all die at any second," and it's great because
Yeah.
people are making great, stupid, like absurd, and like really smart stuff too. Everything is available. It's incredible.
I remember we were chatting. I think we're at one of our like scratch nights when we were
Mm-hmm.
practicing bits. We were talking about you came from LA, like, or you had been to LA for a
Yeah.
while and then come back to Melbourne. But are you
Yeah.
originally from Melbourne?
Yeah. So I have been was here like up until I was 22, just like normal in the suburbs, in the western suburbs. And then I went to LA in 2017 and then came back when COVID happened. So I was in like the first night of hotel quarantine. And
Wow.
yeah, it was free though. So that's good. It was
Yeah.
free then. And I was with a friend. So that was good because I wasn't alone. Because we
Did you
both
find it
came
hard
back.
to like reconnect back into Melbourne?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I still sometimes have moments where I'm like I'm still definitely struggling in certain ways, and that's why we have therapists. Shout out to all the therapists out there. But like, I think it helped that I had come home pretty much like once a year for the whole time that I was
Mm,
gone, and so in terms of doing shows, I would organize to do shows every time I came home, and I think that kind of kept me intertwined with like
that's
comedy
smart.
people specifically. And all my friends that were running the shows are very generous and kind, and it was just a nice thing to be doing. But I think now realizing that if I hadn't done that, there probably wouldn't even be possibilities for me to get on any stages now because people would be like, well, who are you? So that's been good. It has been a struggle in terms of like just finding my place and stuff like that again. But like everyone's exactly like I said, been so welcoming, and there's so much different stuff out there that it feels like exactly what you said. How you're doing every kind of thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel limiting here, whereas I feel like in the US, it seems like it's much better to be good at one thing and stick to that one
Yeah.
thing and try to work upwards from that. And I ultimately always wanted to write TV, and that's still
Yeah.
the goal. But now I'm kind of like, okay, well, let's try and get there a different way because
Mm,
it doesn't happen in the same way here as it does there. There's not like
100%. It's
a
like
path.
I feel like in Melbourne and possibly just Australia in general, there's a lot more view towards being a jack of all trades. Like, our film and TV industry is obviously nowhere near as big as the US,
Yeah,
or countries like that. So there's not really the place for you to just be an actor or just be a writer or something like that. Like, if you can have all of these skills in your toolbox, like you're obviously going to be so much more desirable to work with. And I feel like through that, so many performers in Australia are like jacks of all trades. Like we have to
yeah,
become across the board pretty good at anything so that we can adapt to a much like smaller opportunities when they arise because you don't want any reason to discount you from being involved in a process.
yeah,
Um,
definitely.
and like you definitely would notice this as well as you were talking about like, you want to be a writer for TV, but you're also a great performer and you're very funny and like you would
Thank
be
you.
discovering other assets as you're going along.
Yeah, definitely. I've been performing most of my life, but I think I've always known, like, it's interesting. I think I went there thinking, well, let's not worry. I'll do comedy here, but that's because it's fun for me. That's not going to get me anywhere because nothing happens here. It was very like one track mind.
Yeah.
Since I was about 15, I was like, well, I'm going to find a way to get to America and do it there because you have to do it there. There's nothing here, which is so close minded and silly. And I was doing all the things here that would have, that I'm trying to do now as well. But I think I was so set on like, well, I'm going to go there and then I'm going to become an assistant and then I'm going to work my way up and this and this. And
Yeah.
I did a lot of those things, but there's so many more obstacles there than you realize. Like, just like
Yeah.
being able to make enough money to eat and the healthcare system and all these things that we know are issues. But we really have it so good here. And the idea that you can have like a job where you're not even working that many hours a week if you really wanted to, and you could find a way to save money, and do your creative stuff on the side without like being so stressed about every aspect of your life that you're like on death's door. Like
Yeah.
there's more, I think, freedom to try
To
different
go
things here as
about it a
well.
different and go about it a different way, I feel as well. Like
Yes.
that thing I relate a lot when you're saying like the idea of the US being very much like, oh, there's this hierarchy that I have to follow each of these steps to get move my way up this ladder.
Yeah.
Um, but I feel like that isn't the case here, and
No.
it's very much like there are so many different ways to kind of end up doing something. Like I've been finding since because similar to you, I've always wanted to get into writing, and I am a writer, and I want to write musicals. Like that would be my dream career. And I also, when I was younger, wanted to be like an actor. And it felt like to be an actor, you got to go to NIDA. In my head, it's like you got to go to NIDA. You got to be like um, picked up by some incredible top-notch agency, and then you go straight to Neighbours, and then you do all this kind of stuff. And
Yeah, of
anything other
course.
than that wouldn't be the way to go. Um, but somehow, bizarrely, through doing like comedy and stand-up and just being like, oh, I'm just going to do this other thing that I enjoy and feel like I'm good at, um, I've found ways to like incorporate theatre back into my shows
Yeah.
and like have scenes and do some like acting work and um, you know, opportunities have started to arise from just even my most recent comedy festival show,
Yes.
for like acting and that
Mm-hmm.
kind of stuff. And it's very, it's very funny to me because it's like as soon as I kind of like almost like put acting out of my head and was like, oh, that's not going to
Yeah.
happen for me, and I'm just going to do comedy now. That's when people were like, oh, but you're actually a good actor, and like you've got some theater in your bones. And I was like, yeah, I do. And it's funny that sometimes if you just do what you want and put your natural, authentic self into it, people are gonna, you know, see all that you have to give, and you're probably gonna end up, um,
Where you want to be
yeah,
in some
exactly,
way. Yeah. That's so encouraging. Everyone out there, you hear that? Just be yourself.
yeah,
Just be, everything will
just
be
do
fine.
it.
We're not saying you have to try in any other way apart from being
Yeah.
yourself, and things will happen.
Hmm.
That's what we're saying.
Also,
Do
be good.
and be
I
good.
reckon.
Don't be a
Yeah,
dick.
that's another tip. Just be good.
And ignore what I said. You do have to try hard. Work
Yeah,
hard. Be good.
yeah.
Be yourself.
Hmm.
And be
Unless,
clean. You know, like
yeah,
clean, like hygienically. That's nice too. That's just a benefit for other people around you. Just
yeah. It's
bathe
thoughtful.
often. You know, and for your health, your well-being, bathe. Would you like to get into these questions that I have?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, amazing. My first question for you is, what did you want to be when you grew up and why? You've already touched on it a little bit, but I think we can
Oh
get
yeah.
into it.
Well, yeah, I wanted to be an actor when I was little. I was the lead in like all my primary school and like secondary school shows and was like a quintessential like drama kid. Yeah, I wanted to do acting and like serious acting, very like I loved Shakespeare and I loved like tragedies and this kind of stuff because I thought it was like so exciting to get to play someone hysterical on the stage, like
Yeah.
I loved anything with just chaos and like drama in it. Um, and yeah, and that was a lot of fun. And then when I got to uni, and was studying performing arts, that was still very much the plan. I was like, I want to do performing arts, and I want to eventually use that to get into straight acting. But through my course, it was much more about theatre making as a whole. It was about you have to like we had minors in script writing, we had minors in directing, minors in stagecraft, and through that I discovered, makeup design, and I discovered that I loved directing and writing as well. And music theatre became my huge obsession during uni because we had um, a, a sort of like in semester one we wrote a workshopped draft of a musical,
Oh,
and
that's
then in
so
semester
cool.
two, one of them got selected, or a handful of them got selected to actually be put on in the second half, and one of my musicals got chosen. So through that, I got to sort of feel the whole process of like what a bigger production can be and all the different parts that come into it and the skills that it requires. And I think from that point on, I kind of like my dead set desire for acting started to fade, and I became much more interested in writing and the actual like
Mm,
creation of a whole show.
that's
Um,
incredible. That yours got chosen. What was it about?
it, it was called Collision,
Ooh.
and it was an original musical about set in like a rural town in Australia. It was about the idea of like there was a car crash that killed one of the local like farmers, and it was like this angsty ochre like view into the lives of all the people that surrounded this man, and
Mhm.
like their colliding stories. So that was the pun on collision. So it was
Yeah.
very like
Classic.
wanky,
Love it.
like heartfelt kind of thing. But the audiences ate it up. They
Of
fucking loved
course.
it.
Of course
Um,
they did. Oh my God.
Not a dry eye in that house.
I wish I had seen it. Oh, that is everything that anyone made at our student theatre to a T. That sounds perfect.
Yeah. Everyone thinks they're changing the world,
Yeah.
and like the idea the idea of like, and we're going to be like a stripped back, really like heart-wrenching, like, and like, we're a group of like six like, you know 19-year-old like Melburnian arts kids writing about what it means to lose a husband, or like, what it means to work the farm. It's like, come on, we don't know
We don't know
any
shit.
of this shit.
That's
Um,
so funny.
but I learned a lot from that, and yeah,
Hmm.
I think from that point on, I kind of like headed more down the trajectory of um, musical theatre and sketch comedy,
Yep.
and through that, through sketch, I discovered stand up, and then through stand up, I um, felt like I really found my feet um,
Yeah.
in
You're an
that.
incredible
And
stand
now,
up.
oh, thank you. Um, so yeah, that's kind of where I'm at the moment. Um,
Incredible.
yeah.
You're living the dream. You're living your dream. It's amazing. Just quickly before I forget, because it's so funny, I wrote and directed. Well, I assistant directed the first one because I was too scared, and then I directed the second one. But I wrote two plays that we put out up at our like student theatre festival. I would write short ones every year in the short play one, but it's so funny when you're saying we think we're like changing the world. The first one was
Yeah.
called Lump Day, and it was about a girl with a. It was set at this girl's funeral that she was holding for
Oh my
herself
god.
because she had a tumor in her brain, which is the
Oh
lump.
my god. The audacity. Like,
And then at
who
the
gave
end,
you the right?
and then the twist is she kills herself at her funeral in front of everyone.
Oh my god. Did you play her as well?
No, no, I wasn't in any of them. I
Okay.
wrote, I did, I was too scared. I think I'm a good performer. I don't think I'm a great actor.
Why do we
Like,
do this to ourselves
I don't know.
as like first time playwrights? We're like, no, I'm not going to write about my experience. I'm going to write about like the grave situations that have not occurred
That
to
have not
me.
occurred to me. I don't know anything about. Just insane. And then the second one was called Willie, and it was about a porn star who goes into witness protection.
Oh my god.
Which is a
More
great.
from your personal
Of
experience, I'm
course,
sure.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's a great concept. In if you just say that sentence, it sounds like it's going to be great, and it was great. It was funny. It was nice. But only in the last like 2 years have I realized the main character had no want at all.
Yeah. No
And now I'm
drive.
like, what were we doing when we were 20 writing this thing?
It's a necessary step for sure. You
Of
have to go
course.
through that period of thinking that your art is like cerebral and next level incredible, and that, we're artists and it's our duty to create something that's, all that kind of stuff. I feel like the older I get, the more I'm just kind of like, I just want to make something that's fun. I
Yeah,
just want, and
absolutely.
like, it will have heart in it. And like, obviously,
Of course.
I want it to speak to messages and morals that I care about, but I'm not gonna like make it this heavy like,
Yeah.
you
I
know,
listened
package.
to an episode of Mike Birbiglia, the comedian, has a podcast, and he had where they like work through material, and he had Bill Hader on it, and he said something that I was like, oh my god, I got to remember this. That was like, he was like, when you're young, it seems like every time you're making something, you're trying to like solve a problem. Like, just say you're
Yeah.
presenting like it's about, you know, a car accident. It's like, wow, I'm gonna solve grief. You know, he's like,
Yeah.
you know, he's like, you can't solve the problem. Just present
No.
the problem. That's how you need to go
Exactly.
about it. And I was like,
Because
what a
who are
genius.
we as any playwright? Who is any playwright to say, I've got the answer? And
Exactly.
and even then, even if they did have the answer, and you know, props to them if they've somehow managed to solve something like grief, it still is like no one wants to go see a piece of art or comedy or anything that feels like it's done, you know? You
Yeah.
want to have those sticking points that leave you with questions when you leave, and like that you have to kind of bring your own opinion and your own take onto it. Like the best art, the best comedy should be a reflector onto us, and we're having to, you know, come up with our own
Absolutely.
response to it.
I'll now ask you the next question, which is,
hmm
what is your favorite thing about yourself?
It would be a cop out to just say like, I think that I'm funny, but I think more so, I feel like I'm good at knowing what, like, I'm a good read of people, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I can use that to make people laugh
Yeah.
and, like, gel with them in a good way. Um, I would say that's something that I pride myself on.
I know what you mean. Like, it's helpful to be able to know where to lead a conversation if you can easily pick up on someone else's response to you.
Signals, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's very useful, and especially with
Yeah.
comedy, like that'd be so important for like crowd work, and like tension, like being able to tell in a room of people like when the timing is good or bad to
Mm,
make a certain joke or to be able to push something further.
definitely. Yeah, I hadn't actually thought of the connection to performance. But that's very true. Like, I love, like, where my head is at most of the time is like I'm very like looking at patterns between people all the time,
Mm-hmm.
and I I feel like my mind is racing on that a lot. Um, but it can be a good thing for me because it means I'm quite attuned to the vibes of people. And yeah, I guess I utilize it in my comedy. But
Yeah,
mostly
absolutely.
I feel like I like that about myself in a social sense because I hope that that would leave a good impression on people and make people feel like I've actually like seen them for who they are. Like I really value authenticity in a
Mm-hmm.
person, and if I feel like there's any kind of facade or deceit, especially, I kind of zone out on a person. It's sort of like I want that genuineness, and um, when I can touch on that with someone, it's great.
Yeah, yeah, I completely agree. I've always had an issue being around, for lack of a better word, phonies, you know? I
Yeah,
haven't, because I'm like so unable to not be just me. Like, was it
yeah,
such an issue growing up because I was so annoying and just like didn't understand how to like tone myself down. Um, but so I really really value that as well. So I appreciate that you value that as well.
uh, bit of a segue possibly, but
Okay.
are you into Myers Briggs?
Yes,
Are you an ENFP?
I think so. Wait, which one I am? Okay, well, let me quickly look it up. Myers Briggs.
I feel like you're in an ENFP.
I think maybe it's an ENFJ.
You might be an ENFJ, yeah.
Yeah, I'm ENFJ
ENFJ.
because it came up. And it says the protagonist, which is so funny because it's like that TikTok thing where it's like you're not the main character, but
Yeah, yeah,
my
yeah.
thing says, in fact, I am. So what does this mean for me? And
Yeah.
then ENFP. So the only difference is, what does the J and the P stand for?
judging and perceiving. It's
Okay.
it's a whole thing. In fact, I should have chosen that as my topic for this because I'm absolutely obsessed with Myers Briggs. There's quite a few differences between ENFPs and ENFJs.
Okay.
My point being is that I am an ENFP,
Mm-hmm.
and when I read up about it, there's a lot of discussion about how ENFPs have a strong, like, extroverted intuition is their dominant function, basically meaning most of the time they spend thinking about what's happening
Yeah.
more than actually engaging. It's mostly just like watching and taking in information,
Mm-hmm.
um, and that they value authenticity as well.
Yeah.
Um, and just the way that you were talking, it just kind of reminded me of that. I didn't mean to take it down my cultish
No, it's not
side
a cult. I
path.
love it. I will like spend hours looking at this stuff when I'm like, this is the one.
Yeah, I love like all kinds of like personality like discussions and categories. It's so interesting to me. My boyfriend thinks it's like horoscopes, which I know that some people do use it kind of like that, but it's just a helpful framework sometimes, um,
Yeah, absolutely.
in understanding other people.
And in understanding yourself, like it might not be exactly perfect, but it's fine. Okay, so just because I would like to have this on record, judging versus prospecting are the thing that I want to look
Perceiving,
at.
yeah.
It says, why does it say prospecting here? Perceiving. Okay. This is must be an American website. Crossing, okay, the tactic scale, which includes the judging and perceiving personality traits, reflects how people plan and deal with the options they have. But this definition doesn't concern what individuals write in their day plan, as it's much broader. These traits answer questions like, do you prefer spontaneity or certainty? Do you feel more comfortable acting only with all your ducks lined neatly in a row, or does a certain amount of flexibility or chaos excite you and prove motivating? Do you need more choices or fewer? Okay, so does that mean that you are decisive? Because I'm incredibly indecisive.
No.
Oh,
It means that like ENFP. Well, I don't know. You kind of do strike me as an ENFP. I feel like I'll
maybe I am.
maybe after this I'll get you to take like the proper test. I'll send it
Yes.
to you and we'll talk
Yeah.
about it. But um, like, would you say that you value authenticity or harmony of the group? Which would you value more?
Authenticity. Yeah, definitely.
If authenticity meant breaking the harmony of the group, would that still be the preference, or would you
Yes.
rather? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So
Okay.
maybe I
Well then,
am.
see, that makes me think ENFP because the dominant function of a ENFJ is extroverted feeling, which is all about harmony and the idea that
Yeah.
we all should feel in sync, and that's the primary
No, I don't
important
think that.
thing.
I very clearly understand everyone feels differently, and that's okay.
Yeah, well then
Um,
that sounds like ENFP to me. Anyway, sorry, I'm so
no,
sorry.
I
I've
love
like
it. This okay. So this is what I'm
sidetracked
going to
us.
do. Charlie's going to send me the link to the proper quiz. I'm going to do it,
Yes,
and then I'm going to insert here what I am according to that quiz, and it'll be
hmm
like
a revelation.
a beautiful, like a gender reveal party, except it's not going to a be horrible and the worst thing. B, cause any wildfires, and C, have nothing to do with gender. It's just going to be a reveal.
Awesome.
Okay, cool.
Drum roll. And it is.
ENFJ, except the J part, so judging over perceiving, is only a slight preference apparently, 16%. And then in the breakdown, where it explains the J part of it in relation to ENFJ, it says ENFJs are, by definition, Js, with whom we associate organisation and decisiveness. But they don't resemble the SJs or even the NTJs in organisation of the environment nor occasional recalcitrance. ENFJs are organised in the arena of interpersonal affairs. Their offices may or may not be cluttered, but their conclusions, reached through feelings, about people and motives are drawn much more quickly and are more resilient than those of their NFP counterparts. I'm definitely not decisive, so I don't know what that's about, but maybe it's got to do with the fact that I think justice is very important. So that may be the bit that Charlie was talking about harmony, my favour for the right thing happening to people who have done bad and people learning from their mistakes and taking responsibility from them, I think might be the thing that makes it J and not P. Wow. Whatever it is, we celebrate it. Hopefully it's
Yeah,
the
we
same
love
as
that.
you, because I, would be honoured. Okay, so the next question I have for you is, what's your favourite feeling? And it can be physical or emotional.
I think my favorite feeling is when I have a sort of creativity burst and I feel that expansive, like, oh my God, this becomes that, becomes this, becomes this, and then like I'm getting excited about what other things could happen,
Mm-hmm.
um, which happens for me when like inspiration strikes or something like that. Like that feeling to me is my favorite thing in the world. I feel so optimistic and excited, and I feel like I'm at my best, and I bring out the best in other people as well when I have this like ambition and this excitement about like, oh no, but this can be great. This can really be great.
Yeah.
Um, I love seeing the potential in an idea or someone
Mm-hmm.
and bringing that out.
Yeah.
And um, sometimes, yeah, that feeling when I feel like I'm beginning something that's like, oh, this has potential.
Yeah.
That's so exciting for me.
There's nothing better when you have that moment on a day when you have time to think it, like to like plot something out
Yeah,
or think things through. It gets so exciting. Like, I love having, it's fun to have that feeling when you're like out about and doing something, but it's not the same when you're like, okay, well, I can't focus on that right now, so I'll just like write this down in my notes app and come
yes,
back to it. And then you come back in a couple days and maybe you're not in that headspace and you're like,
yeah,
okay, I guess you don't feel, you maybe know it's a good idea, but you don't feel excited.
yeah,
Versus, maybe you wake up, you're having coffee, you've got a day, you're planning to write anyway, and then it happens, and you're like, oh my God, I can't even finish this. I need to like go and do this and get this done, and connecting
yeah,
the dots. Oh, when you said when things remind you of something else and you like find a way to weave together, I love that so much. When you figure out like a thread
yeah,
for multiple ideas, it's just
yeah.
so good.
It gives me shivers. It's so exciting. Um, and yeah, I just love it. And it doesn't happen like through lockdown and this kind of stuff. It's been harder
Yeah.
to have that for something that's going to be tangible because it's like, you know, usually I'll be having that when I'm thinking of like a show that like
Mm-hmm.
will eventuate or like, oh, I can make this project and I'll do it in this way and that kind of stuff. It's harder when things are up in the air
Yeah.
and we have to kind of like, think of more hypothetical stuff. But I have so many like projects that I've started that I've never finished because this feeling is so delirious for me. I love it so much. I will jump from a current project to a completely new one just to have that feeling
Yeah.
and to savor it. But in doing so, I'm like not following through and completing this other thing because the actual like, the fuller spectrum of like, okay, now you've got the idea, you've done all the exciting connections, and you've made all the expansive, foundations. Now you actually just have to do it. It's like, oh, that's
Yeah.
not interesting to me anymore. I'm just gonna go do this other thing. Um,
Exactly.
yeah, so I have just like hundreds of like, you know, the first scene of a play, or like the first song of a musical, or just the beginning of some project that never went anywhere.
Yeah.
Um, So I think as much as I love that feeling, it can also be my Achilles heel.
Yeah, absolutely. I know exactly what you mean. I have the same thing. There's like folders and folders on my computer of things that are just. I've got here on this wall. I've got like a cork board with the big projects I want to do, and they're all up
Yeah,
there, and it's like great. And then I look at it and I'm like, okay, out of out of the like 7 things, and I'm like, I'm gonna do these things.
yeah,
2 of them, one is this podcast, so I'm A+ for that one, and then the other is like in the works, and then everything else I'm like, yeah, I could accomplish all of that in 5 years. Like,
yeah.
it's too much. It's too much.
But we
Um,
just make achievable goals, and we should be proud of the things that we are doing in this podcast,
Absolutely.
and
Thank
um,
you.
we find a way. But yeah,
Absolutely.
it is the constant artist struggle for sure.
Yes, but it's a great feeling. I love that. That's such a good answer. The next question is, what's your happy place? It can be like a physical place or I don't know. A made up place in your mind?
I reckon my favorite place is like dressing rooms before a show. Like, I love being with a cast, being with like a group of people, and we're about to go on stage, and you've got that mix of like excitement and nerves and terror, and but also this beautiful like community feeling of like, but we're going in together. Yeah, it's a very special moment being on stage with someone, and the moment before it is very like, I feel very close to people in that moment.
Yeah.
It's just sort of like this, we got through it, we got through it. I love being in that place.
I feel like that feeling is like kicked up a notch when you go in like the wings. If you're like about to go on, I loved being in high school especially, and like everyone in their ridiculous makeup and costumes, and you're like side stage, no one's allowed to, the
Yes.
audience is loud enough that you can kind of talk to each other, but nothing's happened yet, and you're like, the anticipation is just the
Yes.
best feeling, and you're all there like, oh my god, we did it, and you haven't even done
Yeah.
anything yet.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place to be.
Yeah.
Um, that maybe that's a cop out answer because I've given like a time rather than a place, but like
No,
just
no.
generally like I love like dressing rooms and the wings of theaters, and as you said, like those places, those like liminal spots where like, the art is made and people are getting ready to go out. Like, I have really lovely associations to those places.
Yeah, me too. That's so beautiful. Ugh, making me want to get on a stage. Don't know how
Yeah.
right now, but I'll find my way. Um, okay, the next question is, I'm excited to hear your answer. What is your favorite song to cry to?
Just a heads up for the listener, by the way. I like 95% only listen to musical theatre. Like, my Spotify is just Broadway and show tunes, and that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
I think we bonded over that. We saw our friend Sonia Giorio's solo show. Shout out, excellent show.
Yes.
And we sat next to each other, and we, like 5 minutes before the show started, we both revealed that fact that we're the same in that way. We're like, oh my god, what? And we were like just
Yeah.
looking through each other's listened
Just
to
scanning through our
songs.
playlists.
It was so good.
Rather than listening to, the tragedy songs where someone's like, mourning a partner dying, or, the typical heart-wrenching moments of the show. Like, they're obviously sad and they make me sad, but my favorite songs in musicals is always like after the storm, like the when the character is like trying to like be optimistic and be like, you know what, I'm gonna pick myself up and keep going. Something about like facing adversity and then deciding, oh, I'm gonna be strong, even if they feel weak, but they're like, no, I've got to be strong, and they try and keep it together. For some reason, that always makes me cry.
Yeah.
Like, and it's true for so many shows, so many types of songs. Like, and like some of them are happy songs as well because they're being positive as characters, but there's something beautiful in that. It's like a happy cry. Um, like, do you know the song "Naughty" from Matilda?
Yes, yes.
Um, yeah, and like basically she's saying, you know, sometimes life is shit, and sometimes you're not going to have a fairy godmother come and save it all, and you have to be your own hero, and you've just got to keep going. And it's a really like plucky kind of like play schooly sounding song, but she's being really like brave given how horrible she's treated in her terrible home life. And I don't know, just something so beautiful about the idea that like, like she's being so brave as this like kid. It just makes me like sad and happy at the same time. Um, Same thing with Hamilton. Like at the end, like there's the obvious devastating sad song of "It's Quiet Uptown," where Philip Jr. dies,
Yeah.
and Eliza and Hamilton are like having to like come back together, and it's the quintessential tearjerker, and it is sad. But the bit that gets me in Hamilton every single time, no matter how many times I listen to it or watch it, is the final song, "Who Lives, Who Dies, Who Tells Your Story,"
Yeah.
when Eliza comes out and she says, I put myself back in the narrative and I decided, you know what, like, I'm still going to take on your legacy, and I'm going to, and she's like, I established the first like orphanage in New York City,
Yeah.
and she's proud and she's happy about, like, you know what, I'm going to make my life worth living, and I'm going to make yours important.
Mm-hmm.
Again, she's being optimistic, but it makes me so, like, happy sad, and I start crying every time I listen to it.
Yeah,
So
it's so
th
bittersweet.
those moments
Yeah.
are what get me crying, and I love listening to them.
Yes. I would say mine in Hamilton, just because I really want to tell you this story.
Yes, do.
My friend and I bought tickets to see it, the original cast in New York, and we didn't know this, but it was the last week of all of the original cast's
Oh my
performances.
God.
So when we bought the tickets, we got in the balcony at the very back, the worst seats you could get, and we each
Yeah.
paid 900 Australian dollars.
Oh my God.
And we were like, we
Wow.
don't, and our parents were like, what the fuck are you doing, girls? Like,
Yeah.
what a waste of your money that you've saved up to go on this holiday. And we were like, no, this is, we want to do this. As soon as they announced that they were all leaving, the tickets went up in value. So the resale value was $30,000 for the tickets where we were. And
Holy fucking shit.
I told my parents, and they were like, sell that fucking ticket right now. You're not going. And we were like,
Oh, it was that
yes,
price
we
while
are.
you were there.
Yeah. So if we had that week, we could have sold the ticket, and
You would have made a lot of money.
we were like, no, it's not worth it. And you know what?
Oh my God.
Best decision I've ever made.
Yes, of course.
It was so good. And One Last Time is my favorite song in the whole show. And when we saw it, because we were right in the back as well, we could stand up. And Chris Jackson's voice is just, oh my God, it's incredible. And it was like a great performance. It was like one of the best he ever did, apparently, according to the forums that night. And I stood there bawling my eyes out, like my hand over my heart, like he
Yes.
really was the president and I was a citizen of the country. Like I was all in. And it was that thing where it's like, this man singing about, hey, you know what? I'm going to quit my job because I would like to live a normal life. Like, this is too much. It's like a bittersweet, sad thing. And I was just like, this is the best moment of my existence. It was incredible.
Oh, that's so nice. Oh my God. I would have done the exact same thing, but then possibly always been like, fuck, I could have had, 30 fucking $1,000 right now.
Yeah. I definitely
But
think about it sometimes when I'm like at the IGA trying to be like, this cashew milk is too expensive,
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, what if I had just done it? But I'm like, no. It was worth it. It was so worth it.
Absolutely. That's legendary.
I thought I knew you would understand. I feel like a lot of people, I don't tell everyone that because I'm like, a lot of people would be like, you're a fucking idiot. And they'd be right, but just not for that reason.
I have a friend who, her boyfriend, she and her boyfriend went to New York, and they were seeing all sorts of musicals and shows. And she's kind of the one that, like, leads them for what to see because she's much more into, like, music theater. And then she kind of was like, oh, and if you want to pick one, like, go for it. And he was like, oh, there's this new show that people are talking about called Hamilton. And she's like, what's it about? Like, this was, like, very early days. And he's like, oh, it's a rap musical about, like, the founders of America. She's like, it sounds shit. I'm not seeing that. And so they didn't see it. And then they came home, and now, like, she's like the biggest Hamilton fan now.
Of course.
But like, and like she regrets that, like, every day of her life. But I do find it funny because on paper it sounds crap.
Oh, yeah.
If someone was like, oh, I've written this, like, kind of like cool rap musical about, the founders of America, it's like, what the hell is that?
Set in like 1778 or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
It doesn't
my God.
sound like a winner, but it is.
But it is. Okay, my next question is, who's someone you admire?
I love, like, writers like Missy Higgins and Tim Minchin and Jude Pearl who bring earnestness to otherwise really lovely sounding songs. Like, if someone is a really impressive lyricist or musician and can write great melodies and songs, I'm obviously impressed, and I think that's beautiful. But the people who can combine like a nice sounding song or a nice singing voice or whatever with like just unashamed, like earnest, sincere lyrics and stories about the little things in life, that to me is magic. Um, and you see it with Tim Minchin's music, with his musicals. You see it with Jude, with her live shows and her cabarets, and then her music as well. And I feel like the reason that a lot of Missy Higgins's music speaks to so many people is because they're lovely songs, like, but it's not like they're incredible compositions of that no one's ever heard before. Like they're quite simple musically, but she just sings from her heart, and she sings in a completely like unfiltered way as well. It's very Australian, very um, her vocals are just raw and natural, and there's imperfections in it, but it makes it part of what's so lovely about it. So, yeah, those kind of people inspire me for sure.
Definitely. Oh my God, Missy Higgins is. So, yeah, everything that you have said, I agree with. And Jude Pearl's show was so incredible. And at the most recent Hairbrush comedy here in Melbourne, which is a great night, you should all go to it. Charlie has hosted and been on it, and I've been on it. A great night. And Jude Pearl came and did, I think, one or two of her songs from I Have a Face, and then also did just like an improvised thing where she got people to name movies that they'd seen and made it into one coherent musical. And it was just very silly and honest, and there were lots of moments where she was just purposely coming out of it and coming into it, and it was just exactly what you're saying. It was just the littlest things that made it. You could see her personality come out even in something that had nothing to do with like her perspective in that moment. It was so good.
Love Jude. Obsessed.
What a talent. What a star. Okay, the next question is, what's some weird kid shit you used to do?
I was a pretty good kid, I reckon. Like, I didn't really do crazy stuff, but because I was the eldest, not just in my family, with my siblings, but with all my cousins as well. Like, on my dad's side of the family, I was the eldest cousin. So it was up to me to be, like, the leader of all the games that we would play with each other and that sort of stuff. And I would kind of invent these games and that sort of stuff, and sometimes it would kind of become like I was the what's his name, Jigsaw from Saw, like energy, like I was the power definitely went to my head. So I would do games like we'd stand up outside my cousin's pool, and like I'd get them all lined up beside the pool, and like I'd like think of a number between 1 and 10, and they'd all have to guess a number as I like walked behind them and like held my hands against their backs, and if they like said the number that was in my head, like I'd just like shove them in the pool. This kind of stuff. But like, yeah, it was just nonsense like that. Or like at one point I would trap them in the, like with their permission and their consent, I would trap them in the laundry and like lock it from the outside and then go upstairs to our laundry chute and send messages down to them in a bucket with like riddles that they had to answer
That's so fun.
before I would release them. And I called it Desolation Island, because it was kind of like me mixing like Survivor with like, I don't know.
You created the original escape room.
Yeah, basically. And it was funny because it got so like Desolation Island became so popular for like my playing with my brother and sister especially, that like their friends would play it with us when they came over. And so like I remember being annoyed and like being like, like I was like 8 or something like that, and like my sister's like friend's mum would come to like pick her up, and she'd be like, "Where's Thea?" And I'd be like, "Oh, I've locked her in the laundry. We're playing like Desolation Island. It's fine. She can't come out until she answers these riddles." And like just telling her mum, "No, you're not picking her up because she needs to unlock these clues before that happens. I'm so sorry. You can't take her home."
Sorry, these are the rules.
Yeah.
That's so fun.
Yeah, that's as weird as I got as a kid.
I love that though. That's even though it's nothing bad, which is a good, that's a good thing. It's probably a good thing that you didn't ever harm anyone or do anything like creepy or weird. But that's so creative. I love that. That's so fun. Did your family? My family definitely did. I was the youngest of all my cousins, and we, especially at big family events, there were lots of performances. Did your family have performances?
Like putting on little plays and songs and skits and stuff?
Yeah.
Not really. I wish we did. I would have absolutely loved that. But again, because I was the eldest on that side, it was like, I'd have to be the director. Like, I wouldn't get the fun of being like
in it. Yeah. Okay. The last question I have before we take a break and then get into your topic is: do you think aliens are real?
I reckon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I reckon. I mean, it's just like we're a tiny speck in the universe. Like, what are the chances that there's not other life forms? Like,
it's pretty
I'm sure they are.
Yeah.
I don't think it's obviously like it's portrayed as them being like, the way that we think of it might not be the way that it is, but there's definitely life out there somewhere.
Yeah.
For sure.
If they're listening right now, what do you want to say to them?
How's it going? Listen to my song on Spotify. Follow me on YouTube. Subscribe. Get into it.
Get into it, aliens. We adore you. Thank you for the support. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah. Charlie, what is the topic we're going to be talking about today?
We are talking about none other than music theatre.
Woo!
Woo!
Who would have thought?
It's a real curveball, but,
Okay, well, this might be too big a question. And you know what? I was going to say, what's your favourite musical? But that I know it's too big a question because we asked each other that night when we had that big conversation and neither of us could handle it. So
yeah, we literally had to be like, I'm going to take a week and I'll come back to you. And then we never came back to each other.
No. And now this is the conversation.
This is where we're at.
But instead, I will say, can you give me a top 5? Because it's impossible to do one.
Okay, top 5. Well, definitely one of them is Hedwig and the Angry Inch. Mm-hmm. I love Hedwig. Legally Blonde.
Yes.
I think is a great show. Oh my god.
And this is where pulling out the Spotify playlists is important.
Maybe Rocky Horror.
Yeah.
I'm getting my Spotify up now.
I'm going to do the same, so then that
way
we
scroll.
Have
it's hard.
Everything we need here.
I love Wicked. You can't not love Wicked, but I'm not sure if it would be top 5. Do love Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Bit of a slut for Chicago. Oh, Hamilton. Of course, Hamilton.
Of course.
Is up there. Wait, so what have I got? So I've got Hedwig, Legally, Hamilton.
Chicago.
I don't think it'd be in the top 5 though.
Okay. Being cutthroat today.
Oh, Fun Home. I love Fun Home. If for anyone who doesn't know the musical Fun Home, look into it. It's a beautiful musical about the life of Alison Bechdel, who was a lesbian cartoonist, and she's still alive. She's not dead. But it's about her family life growing up, and her dad was gay, and tragically he killed himself. And it's about her kind of growing up and realizing that she has a similarity to her dad, but they're also at odds, and it's just this beautiful, strange relationship and the way that it sort of transformed her life. It's a great show. Beautiful.
Very heartbreaking and heart-wrenching.
Oh, Muriel's Wedding, the Aussie production I loved. Oh, Moulin Rouge. 100%. That's in there. That pushes out whatever I was just talking about.
Whatever else, Moulin Rouge. Yeah.
Whatever shit I was just on about, scrap it.
Sorry.
Literally cut it out of this video if you want, because Moulin Rouge. I'm obsessed with Moulin Rouge.
Oh, rightfully so. Incredible. Do you remember the first musical you ever saw?
Live.
Mm-hmm.
When I was little, like, my nana used to take us to musicals a lot. Like, it was something that she would do. She would buy, like, all me and my cousins and, like, our aunties and uncles to go see as a family, like, a show. And we'd see Sound of Music or Mary Poppins. And it was beautiful. Like, um, it was just like the event of the year.
Yeah.
Um, I think it might have been Sound of Music was the first one that I saw
Yeah.
live, um, which was a great one to see because it was also about family, and I got to see it with my family.
That's
Um,
very sweet.
yeah, it was a nice
Yeah.
one.
I think my first one was Wizard of Oz, and I'm sure I saw other, like, I mean, I saw the Wiggles, saw High Five when I was quite young. Those aren't musicals. Those are musical performers, yes, and
Yeah, yeah,
we respect and appreciate their work.
yeah.
It's a prelude to musicals, if you will. But I think it was in 2001, so it would have been 6, at the school that I went to, they did Wizard of Oz. And I don't remember any of the show, but I remember walking out of the theatre, and I think they did it at Hamer Hall. Like, they
Oh,
rented
wow.
out, like, I think they, for some reason, went really big. And you know those stairs where the mirrors are, where you're kind of going up and
Yeah.
down? I remember being, like, little and walking up there and seeing someone from the cast, like, have to run. And I was like, oh! And I think I even saw, like, I saw the ruby slippers, and I was like, oh my
Oh
God.
my God.
Oh my God, a star. We've
Yeah,
encountered
yeah.
a star. And I remember just being amazed. So shout out
It's magic.
to them. Yeah, it's beautiful.
That's so exciting
What was the first musical that you were in?
that I was in. Um, at school, I auditioned for the musical when I was in year 11. And funnily enough, at that point, I had never done musicals, and I wasn't even interested in musicals because, as I said, it was mostly at uni that I started to be like, you know what, I really, really love musicals, and I sort of
Yeah.
headed more into that direction. Um, because at school, I was more of an actor, or I saw myself that way. I was like, oh, I'm not much of a singer. I'm an actor. And I guess I thought that musicals were like frivolous or silly. I was like, that's not real stories, or they're not real like actors or something like that. Stupid young me thoughts. But anyway, so when my friends were auditioning for the musical, I was kind of like, oh well, I'll do it because it will be obviously so much fun. But I wasn't going in there with the expectation that I would be a lead role as I would if it was just a straight like theater piece.
Yeah.
But despite that, I ended up getting the lead role, and I was like, oh, okay. um, and I had done no like choir, I'd done no like singing. So, oh, and the musical, by the way, was The Hot Mikado, which is a
Oh,
jazz remake of the Mikado,
okay.
and which is set in Japan. It's a Rodgers and Hammerstein thing, kind of culturally appropriative, extremely like possibly not okay
PC,
by
yeah.
nowadays standards, but you know things were different back then. Um, but it was a really fun comedy show with really intricate, fun jazz harmonies and this kind of stuff. And it was my first like foray into um, a musical of that sort. So it opened my eyes a lot, and I learned a lot. And yeah, I think I just kind of realized that like I had not done musicals up until that point, not because I couldn't sing, but just because I hadn't practiced, and I turned out to be like pretty good at it. And um,
Yes.
I can carry a tune, and since then I've got a lot better with harmonies and understanding the mechanics of music. Now that I've sort of become like started to study it and write musicals, especially. But yeah, that was my first little show.
That's so exciting. Did you do, when you were at uni, because I know you said especially like that's when you found your love for writing musicals, and I know you went to Monash. and they have an incredible like student theatre program, as well as the degree that you did. That, and they've gotten rid of it now, haven't they? Or they're getting
Yeah,
rid of it, which is horrible.
it's so shit. No, it's gone. Or well, like they're taking on no new students for performing arts. Like I think it used to be a Bachelor of Performing Arts, and then they scrapped it, and then you could just do particular units from the Centre of Theatre and Performance in your arts degree. But now they have even scrapped the Centre for Theatre and Performance. There's no dedicated theatrical avenue. And like
It's
they've had to let
ridiculous.
go like all of their like senior staff. It's just a nightmare,
Yeah,
to be
and
honest.
it's been one that's been one of like the most prestigious degrees in Melbourne for
Yeah.
performance. So that's heartbreaking.
Yeah, it was a really unique course that, as I chatted about before, had a lot more of a view towards like making you an all-rounder, a theatre
Yes.
maker, rather than an actor, or just a director or just a writer, that you have
Yeah.
to be across the board a creative person that can do it all.
Yeah. And another
And I-
great Melbourne comedian who we are friends with, Oliver Coleman, also did that course. And that
yes,
explains why he does like everything as well. And it makes so much sense.
it's so bizarre that you bring up Ollie because he came to see my show because I've known about Oliver Coleman for a while, but we've never hung out just until recently when he came
Yeah,
to see
same.
my show, a comedy festival, and then afterwards, because I talk about in my show particular things about my schooling experience, he comes up to me and he was like, "Did you go to this particular school?" And I was like, "Yes." And he was like, "So did I." And I was like, "What the hell?" And then like I was like, "Wait, what year were you?" And like we figured it out. And he was, I think, 3 years older than me, but he was captain of drama, as was I, sort of thing. And I was like, "Oh my God, I remember like your name at least, and I remember like your presence at the school,
Yeah.
because like when I was in year 8 or whatever, he was in year 12 and that kind of thing." And so we have a very similar trajectory, he and I. He also then went to Monash. I didn't know until you just said that he went to Monash. So
Yeah.
now I'm going to have to message him and be like, there's even more that we
There's
have in
even more in
common.
common. Yeah, because I think we were having a conversation with a group of people, and I said something about student theatre and doing it at La Trobe, and there was some lingo that I used that he was like, "Oh, I know that. I know that from my student
Yeah.
theatre days." And I was like, Where did you do student theatre? He's like, Monash. And I was like, oh my God, were you doing the call? Like, yeah, we chatted about it. But I see so many similarities in like work ethic and exactly so like openness to do a little bit of everything in both of you. So that makes so much sense that you would have learned from similar people or learned like similar things. And that's so devastating that course isn't there anymore.
Yeah, it's shit.
What I was going to ask before we went on that tangent was, were there any traditional like musicals that you did while you were at uni, or was it all kind of just student-made stuff or like original works?
There was like separate to the performing arts degree, there was still like just student theatre that was open for anyone at the uni. Like there was in my first year, I auditioned for Spring Awakening,
Oh,
which is a beautiful show. I
which
know.
is in my top 5.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, beautiful. And so you're going to be heartbroken then because when I was auditioning, I was like, I'm auditioning for the role of Hunshin, and they're like, why? And I was like, because he's the gay one, and I want to have a kiss on stage.
Yes.
And they're like, actually, we're going to be auditioning everyone for like all roles. Like we'll be considering you for all roles. And I think by that they meant like, you're not just going to like cut yourself off from the opportunity to play even bigger roles.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh, I don't want to be like presumptuous and assume that I would get like one of the upper roles. I'll just go for like this little like C character. But I think they ended up like auditioning me, and I did like callbacks for Melchior and Moritz,
Ooh,
um,
the two
which
leads,
are
if
like
you will.
the proper leads. But and I was like quite along in the process, as were some of my other friends from performing arts. And then they told us, like after like a week of these like callback auditions, they were like, actually, anyone who is in first year in Bachelor of Performing Arts is ineligible for this musical because
What?
it apparently clashed with some like end of year course production that we're doing. And so we were just like all scrapped from it, and we couldn't be part of it. And then, as it turns out, by the time that we got to the fucking time when Spring Awakening was performing, it didn't overlap with our fucking show. So I was just like, these shitheads dangled Spring Awakening in front of me.
Took it away, and then we're like,
You know?
actually, you could
Yeah.
have been you.
It's
Oh
the
my
bitch of living,
God.
honestly.
It is a bitch of a living, you know what? And that is a moment where you're fucked.
Yeah.
There you go. Oh my God.
Totally fucked.
Totally. That's so disappointing.
I know.
Oh, I think I was kind of relieved in uni that we didn't have any kind of musicals. We had cabarets, which is how I started in student theatre, because I was like, there's no musicals. I guess I'll do this so I can still sing, whatever. And then I found that they had other, like a play festival and all this other stuff. But I think I'm kind of relieved because it pushed me to do community theatre, which is just a universe that you can't understand unless you're in it, and it's so funny.
It's a microcosm.
It is the weirdest thing that I've ever experienced, and I'm so glad that I tried it.
Yeah, it's insane.
I did 3 productions with 2 different like regional theatre companies. One was Rent.
I love Rent.
I love Rent in my top 5. I was Joanne in Rent. And then
yes! Oh my
was,
God. Take me or leave me, bitch.
Yeah, absolutely. And the answer is take me. But yeah. So we did that, and then we did Hairspray, and I was Penny.
Love Hairspray. Oh my God, I love Penny.
Love Penny. Great role. I was getting great roles. And then I did this this adaptation of the Jungle Book where there were 2 separate shows, and the first one was like the kids theatre, and it was the story of the Jungle Book. And then there was a separate one that was like a jazz blues show made of songs that already exist. They weaved into a story about Mowgli, if Mowgli was a girl pretending to be. It was basically the Jungle Book mapped onto Mulan in Prohibition Chicago. It
Wow.
made no sense. I was Mowgli, and it was...
Oh my God.
It was crazy.
It sounds insane and awesome.
It was fun. It was fun, but it was bizarre. But
I love shows like that.
There's multiple things that encapsulate just the whole situation at these different places with genuinely so many of the people are friends that I absolutely love so much and are still very close with, and like don't get to see all the time, but when I do, it feels like home, you know, and like so many great memories, like so much great drinking together and stuff.
Yes.
But
and the drama, the romances,
well, this is
the intermingling and the dating.
Oh yeah, my one of my like big relationships is from this time. But this is what I'm saying, the drama. Okay, so when we did Hairspray, for example, Hairspray famously is a musical about racial segregation.
Mm-hmm.
I was the physically darkest person in the cast, playing the whitest character. Yeah. The person who played Seaweed got a spray tan.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Got a spray tan. There was our cast. I think the youngest child was maybe. There was like a couple 8-year-olds that were someone's kids that were there, but there were like these 15-year-olds, and this man who was in our cast, like, basically outed himself as a pedophile, and was like, he didn't. Thank God, nothing actually happened, but he was like beginning to make advances on this boy who was like 15. So much like real life drama, crazy stuff was happening.
That's not even stuff. Oh my God, I was just thinking of like the dating scandals that happens in a musical. This is like legit like criminal drama.
Yeah, this is criminal drama.
Blackface and pedophilia is not. Oh my God,
not normal. Yeah.
Who played like Motormouth Maybelle? Like was it Were they black?
No,
No one was
no one
black.
was black. No one was
Isn't
black.
that like the primary? That's the whole point of Hairspray.
Yeah, it was in Kyneton. I don't know how much you know about Kyneton.
Oh my God! No, I actually know quite a little bit about Kyneton because we used to have a family house in Trentham. Um,
Beautiful.
yeah, so we would go past Kyneton quite a lot.
Yeah, go to the local what's it called, the market that they have there. It's a beautiful place.
Did
But
you grow up in Kyneton or?
no, 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 no. I would drive the first month that I learned that I got my driver's license. I think my first time driving alone, I was driving from
To
to
Kyneton.
Kyneton. It was a 50-minute drive.
That's
Um,
fucked.
and it was like
That is a
there was
dedication to.
black ice on the road. It was in the dead of winter.
Oh my God, Ashley.
My parents were like, "No!" I think the first rehearsal we had, my dad actually drove me and wouldn't let me drive myself because I
Oh
was
my
scared I
God.
was going to
She
die.
died as she lived, singing musical theatre.
Exactly. Oh my god. But if, for those who don't know, Kyneton is it's a country town in Australia. It's very white.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that it was a very white production, but the drama, there was also lots of, relationship drama, people getting together and then breaking up mid-production and
Yep.
this person's the musical director and they're dating this person, which is the only reason they're in the cast, and this, like so much of that. Oh, and the camps, we would go on camps and everyone would just get
Yes.
shit-faced drunk. Secrets would come out. Great times, great times.
Yeah. I simultaneously love and hate theatre people. Like,
Yes.
I can say that as a theatre person, but like we
Yeah.
are the messiest, most chaotic and awesome people ever. But like, yeah, it's never going to be like a subtle event.
No. No. Oh my god. Has there been a moment that you can remember being on stage where something has just gone horrifically wrong?
If it's a comedy, usually those moments are when like it can actually become a very funny thing with the audience. I'm trying to think. Like, I've just gone completely blank. I can't even think.
That's
I
okay.
guess I'm such a seamless performer that,
You're just so
even
good.
with hiccups, I just, manage to turn it into a positive.
You just
Um,
breeze through.
I do remember one night of our original musical, Polygamy, Polygamy, um,
Yes.
which was about four sister wives from um, forgotten town called Old South Wales, like mourning the loss of their shared husband and then becoming pop stars. How's that for a little bio?
Incredible.
But there was this one night where I had to come out and deliver this like I was in a spotlight on the side of the stage delivering this letter as it was read by the women who were reading it, and it was like in that moment, because of the lighting states, it was implied that like this is just me off in a different space from where the main characters were. So it was meant to be quite a serious thing, like I'm just like almost like the ghost of this letter is speaking, and it was a very sad thing and talking about how I'm leaving the group and um, I've been let down by everyone and it's heartbreaking and like everyone's lost their way and it's meant to be like very somber. But this one night, I just couldn't like keep it together and I like started laughing, and then once like Haley and
Of
like
course.
some of those
We love
girls, like
Haley.
once we are obsessed with Haley, but Haley is one of those people that like if she starts laughing, I'm fucked. Like
Oh
I
yeah.
can't, like I find her so funny that just the way that she was sort of standing like got me kind of giggling, and then I was screwed, and then it all just came out, and by the time I got to the end of the letter, I was in tears. I was like, openly like laugh crying, and the audience was in hysterics, and it was by far the best like night for that moment, that scene. And
Yeah.
afterwards, like when I was seeing like friends and family who would come to see it, and I was like, what did you think? And this is like an hour long musical that we have written, that we've performed and created and slaved over for half a year. I'm like, what do you think? And they're like, oh, it was so good. My favorite part was when you fucked up and you did the letter. And it's like,
Of
that's
course.
so true of like anything theater. Like audiences love, you know,
Mistakes.
mistakes, and seeing the actor underneath, and seeing like the seams come loose a little bit.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
but they can turn into really nice moments as well. Like I know that when if I go to see something and something happens that is improvised or in the moment, and it's happening there in the room with me, I'll always remember that.
Yeah, definitely. When we did Rent, there's the song Halloween,
Hmm.
which is basically like it's really sad. Angels just died. They've they've all gone on
Is
Halloween
that the one at the
to
graveyard?
the
And they're like,
graveyard. Exactly. Um,
"You said you'd both be cold today."
yeah. So
Who
basically,
said that you say it? That one?
yeah, and then it very quickly changes, and then there's this one bit where Mimi and Joanne go, "I'd be happy to die for a taste of what
What
angel had."
angel had?
Yes, right. So I'm meant to be on stage that whole time because then it will make sense for me to start singing, right?
Yeah.
I just we did 10 nights of the show. I don't know why we did so many, and it was like always Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So basically, we would go like a whole week without performing it, and then have to perform it again. And so, um,
You'd
I
be
was
a bit
just
rusty on the second week.
a bit
Yeah.
rusty. And then by the end of the run as well, I was like, oh, it's whatever. I've been doing this for
Yeah.
years. And so there I am eating chips backstage, just because I wanted to be eating chips. And then all of a sudden, someone's like, aren't you meant to be on stage? And I'm like, and I like shove down the chips and run on, and it's just when my line's about to happen. So I've just not been on stage the whole time, and then I show up and just go, I'd be happy to die, and it doesn't make any sense.
Oh
And
my
the girl
god.
that's playing Mimi is furious, like matches her character, so it's good. But I see her looking at me like, where the fuck
Yeah, what the fuck are you
were
doing?
you? And I come on, I'm like all flustered. It's all good, and then no one really notices unless they know the musical. And so it just happened that night, friends who really love the show came. They're like, what happened? That was wrong, right? And I was like, yes. And the girl who played Mimi was mad at me for like 3 days. She was mad, and I was like,
Yeah.
I get it. Tension is
Yeah.
high. Tension is
Fair enough.
high. But it's very, very funny to me to be like, of course, I was eating. Like,
Yeah.
there's no reason, absolutely no reason for this to have happened. The last question I'll ask you about musical theatre is, what's your dream role from any show? If you could play anything at all.
If I could play anything at all, I would love, 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 love to play Hedwig. Um, that's a role that I think speaks to me as a genderqueer theatre performer who also loves music, and a lot of that show helped me kind of understand something about my gender and my sort of self, um, yeah, identity. I love that role, and just the songs are so beautiful. And I listen to Origin of Love from Hedwig like once a week, and it's like a
Yeah.
5 minute song. It's like one of those like Bohemian Rhapsody kind of things. It's like an epic. It's a real like in the beginning there was nothing, and then all the gods came down, and it's very like huge as a song. But yeah, I will play it once a week and just imagine myself as Hedwig. Um, so I think probably that. Um, I feel like I have other roles as well that I would adore to play. I'd love to play Frankenfurter in Rocky
Oh,
Horror. Um, I feel like I would eat that role alive.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I'd love
I
to
don't
see
know. What
that.
about you? What role, if you could play anything?
Um, I don't know. I think this is a thing. When I see shows, I often don't see myself in like represent. That's not true. I'm a white woman, straight white woman. I'm definitely represented. But in terms of just like my like personality or my personal like story that I put into my like I don't know. I don't feel like I identify with a lot of characters until I saw Fangirls recently. Did you see it when it was here in Melbourne?
No, and I regret not seeing it. I hope they do another reiteration. Everyone was talking about it.
It was genuinely. I think it's in my top 5. It was because of the way that it really was like, I was like, this is about me. Holy shit. So I feel like any of the characters in that, especially like the main girl, because basically there's like 3 girls. It's written by an Australian woman. All the girls are meant to be like 14-year-old Australian girls at like a private school. And the main girl is like a scholarship kid with a single mum who is like obsessed with this boy from this boy band. His name is Harry. The band is called True Connection. It's meant to be Harry Styles from One Direction, basically. And then this is the way that I've interpreted it, at least, is they've kind of mapped onto each of the characters certain ways that society paints young girls out to be, and B, makes them think of themselves, if that makes sense. So like the main girl, it seems like her kind of story that she's telling herself is like, if I can just get him to love me, I'll be good enough, or I'll be worth it.
Yeah.
And the way that society sees her is she's just a stupid little girl. She doesn't know what she's talking about. She's crazy. And then there's one girl who's like, if I can just be hot and get guys to want to sleep with me and drop everything that I am for a guy to approve of me, then I will have worth. And then the other girl's like, am I disgusting? Am I ugly? Will I ever be good enough in terms of like, compared to all those, she's just constantly comparing herself to others around her and has like a very low confidence. And it's just brilliant. So I think that, honestly, because I can't really think of anything else. But then in terms of like singing, Wednesday from
I
from
love
Addams Family
Wednesday
Music.
from Addams Family. Pulled is such a good song.
Oh, it was my audition song for a while.
Oh my
It's
god, have you
such a
listened
good
to Beetlejuice the musical?
Yes. Dead Mom.
Dead
that
Mom?
Song.
Yes, so
I cranked
good.
that in the car. It's so good. It's so good.
Yeah. I love those kind of like strong, grungy alto bops
Yes.
that have like really become popular lately. Like I'd Rather Be Me from Mean Girls
Yes.
the musical.
Actually, scratch it. I would love to play Janice in Mean Girls.
Yes,
that's
you'd
it.
be a great
That's
Janice.
it.
Oh my god, and I'd love to play Damien.
Oh my god. We should do it. We're going to do
Yeah.
it.
Absolutely.
Even we're putting it out there. It'll happen.
Yeah.
If we put
Manifest
it.
it.
Manifest it, exactly. Oh my god, that song is I think I identify with Janice even more. Wow, you've unlocked it. You've unlocked this in me.
There we go.
Look at you go. Also, I quickly want to say I think my top 5 would be Rent, Spring Awakening, In the Heights over Hamilton.
Okay.
Because personally, I don't know, I saw it and it blew me away. Waitress and Dear Evan Hansen, I would say, for me. Waitress, if I hadn't have seen it, I don't think I would have that.
I feel like it's because it doesn't. I've listened to the soundtrack and it doesn't seem incredible to me, but I imagine how in person it would have, similar to Once, where it's a nice musical to listen to, but it's all about the experience of being there. Have you seen Once in person?
No. But
that was
I've heard
like
things.
it was just very like once in a lifetime kind of thing. Same thing with like Come From Away. Those kind of musicals seem very much like
I really want to see
the idea of like being there in the moment.
That's what School of Rock was like as well for me. Being there, I was
Yeah.
like, oh my god.
Yeah, just seeing like talented kids, that's awesome.
It's incredible.
I also thought of another musical as well, similar to what you were saying about In the Heights, where I think it's because I saw like good productions of it and I liked it at the time. But Nine, I love. I think it's a really smart, beautiful, like strange musical because it's like kind of like nothing happens. It's just it's like each song is just about one of these women surrounding this director and his effect on all their lives and their personal baggage, and every woman's got a different take on it, and just like really thoughtful, nice solo songs. Probably there's a few songs from that show that would be in my top 5 songs for music theatre of all time. Like I think My Husband Makes Movies from Nine is one of the best. I would say it is the best written music theatre song.
Okay.
It's so smart. It's so like gentle and unassuming, and what it's doing is really smart. So everyone should listen to it.
Listen to it. Fun fact, Hayley Tanto, who we talked about before, who in Polygamy You with, and I'm so sad that I was away when it was here, so I never got to see it. She will be on this podcast.
Oh, nice.
And we were talking about topics, and she said, would it be too niche for me to do a whole half an hour talking just about Fergie's rendition of Be Italian from the movie version of Nine?
Oh my God. Haley,
So,
we have always been like minds, Haley and I, so it does
Me
not
too.
surprise me that she's going to talk about that.
she's one of a kind. She's the best.
Yeah.
Okay, so this has been so much fun. Thank you so much for spending so much time chatting to me. I've loved this.
It's been beautiful. Thank you for having me, Ash.
Anytime. I've loved it. Can you let anyone out there know, A, where to find everything that you're doing, and B, anything that you want to be plugging right now?
Yeah, sure. Well, you can definitely follow me on Instagram at Charlie Zangel. That's Angel with a Z, as Liza would say. And you can find me on Twitter and Facebook under the same name. I also have a YouTube channel. Check me out at Charlie's Angel. And I've got a podcast called Popgays with my other comedian friends, Aurelia St. Clair and Jordan Barr, where we dissect pop culture each week through a particularly gay lens. It's a lot of fun, and that's available on Spotify and iTunes and everywhere you get podcasts, basically.
Yay! Beautiful.
Yes.
Please follow Charlie and everything. Give the podcast a listen. Give Drama Queen a listen. Get those streams
Yes.
up. Everything.
Absolutely.
And any Melburnians listening, you can go get your ticket to see Charlie's show Cockatiel one last time at the Replay Festival at Comedy Republic on July 22nd at 6:30 p.m. You can get the tickets from all of his social media or at the Comedy Republic website. And if you want to find me on anything, at Ashley Crapapp on everything. On Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, everything. It's all the same. This has been so much fun. Thank you so much. I hope you have a beautiful night, day, wherever you all are. And Charlie, you're the best. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ash. Bye, guys. Have a good one.
Bye.